natural question when we start studying literature is that why should we study literature at all? Okay, so these are, a few reasons that probably we should give to ourselves to motivate ourselves to study literature. The first one is it helps us to understand ourselves better, because when we study literature we meet quite a number of characters in novels, in short stories, in plays, and we listen to their ideas, we listen to what they think about the society at large, and through them, when we read about them or we listen to them, we are able to reconsider our own assumptions, beliefs, notions about many things around us. The example is, as we were discussing absurdism, San, for example, had this question, why then we study this literature and why writers write about it. Okay, so that probably is a starting point to start questioning what is the reality of absurdism at all. And then related with that is, by studying literature, we can reflect over the motivations, actions, thoughts, and ideas which various characters display to us. So when we study literature, students, as you are aware of it, you will read literature from quite a variety of cultures, geographical backgrounds, uh, ideological leanings, historical context, from Britain to France to Germany to, South Asia, Japan, China. So characters come from such a big range of backgrounds. So what kind of motivations do they have? What kind of thoughts do they have? What kind of ideas do they have? So not only we understand about ourselves by reading literature, but also we understand the motives, the actions, the thought and ideas of other people and their connected cultures. Okay. There might be other ways to read about what people think living in a particular culture, but the power of literature lies in the fact that literature embodies those motivations. Literature embodies those thoughts and those ideas. So when you study about that literature or when you read about that those characters, you kind of live in their world. There is a virtual reality which is created, and you kind of trespass into it. And then while living with those characters, you kind of get a direct feeling of what those characters are all about, what those cultures are all about. So literature probably gives us the most direct, intimate understanding of how humans in a particular society think, act, believe, behave, perform, so on and so forth. So if you are a kind of individual who is interested in other cultures, other ways of life, who's interested in humans in general, then probably literature is the field for you. Literature has also very powerful element of providing escape from day-to-day life, not just in negative sense of avoiding the hardships of life, but also in the positive sense of giving us what we call elevation. Literature kind of elevates us. Well, we can get entertainment from lot many other sources as well, but true literature has this potential of not only entertaining us, but at the same time elevating us, giving is giving us a bigger picture, helping us to look at the world from the top. And then literature also provides us a perspective depending upon what is the context about our reading. So for example, if you are reading about literature which is about war, any war literature or war novel, and you read through it, a true piece of literature will not just describe what happened in that war and will not just provide you the elemental basic player of the adventure. On the other hand, a good war novel will give you uh, an interesting, innovative perspective on war. So Is there any victory in war? Is not war loss for all of us, irrespective of who is on the right or who is on the wrong? Perspective of this kind. And what is the use of perspectives in our lives? Perspectives make us mature. And then another interesting use of reading literature is it helps us to empathize with people. What do we mean by empathizing with people? It is a little different from sympathizing with people. So sympathizing with people means that we feel for the trouble of other people. But to empathize with people is that we feel with the people. That is, we are able to put ourselves in the shoes of other people and then feel how they felt. So, for example, if you read about the impact of any pandemic on people of a particular society, and you read a novel about that, Love in Time of Cholera, for example, is a famous novel by Marquis, which is about how people's attitude towards love changes under a major pandemic like cholera. So by reading reading about the characters who are experiencing a pandemic, by reading about them, you kind of put yourself in their position and you are able to visualize and imagine what is happening to them. Other kinds of writing do not have that power. A book of science, for example, on the pandemic does not have that power to actually transport you to the real world where people were experiencing or were inflicted by cholera. And then they were struggling with whatever love relationships they had. Other kinds of literature do not have that power to invoke empathy in you. But literature has that power. And finally, we should read literature because it helps us to build communities. So when people of one particular society, for example, Pakistan, people in Pakistani society, a number of them want to study about the partition, they can make a book club where they can read only books about partition. So the small book club, one small book club in its own right will become an exercise in community building. But if you keep spreading that, a book club about literature of World War II, a book club about the uh, male-female segregation in Pakistani society, and so on and so forth. If you develop that culture of reading fiction, poetry, novel, you are building a kind of community, which of course is at the same time a very mature community.